Okay, so today I'm going to talk a little bit about descending, and this is going to be part one of a two-part video about descending. But I thought what I'd do, let's get rid of that from there. I thought what I'd do is start off with the basic techniques in terms which will help you with your bike handling, and then in the next part, which I'll release next month, we'll talk about angles into corners and lines to take, etc, etc, etc. So this shouldn't take too long. It's pretty simple. Let's start off with the brakes. Essentially, what you should be, and I know a lot of you out there don't like this, you don't feel safe when you're on the drops, but you should be on the drops when you're descending. If you look at any pro race, unless they're absolutely ambling down, they'll be on the drops. Why? Three reasons. One, here, and this is I think the main, well there's three reasons, but they're all equally important. This is the most important, I think, which is if you're here and you hit a bump, suddenly I'm steering the bike like this, and trust me, I've done it, and it's pretty difficult. So if you're here and you hit a bump, you're still there, you're still in control of the bike. The second thing is you've actually got better control over your brakes, better control here. I've got disc brakes on this, but it doesn't really matter. I mean, you can brake with one finger on a disc brake. Yeah, in fact, you should brake with one finger. Now, a lot of people, normally women, but not only women, will say, well, I can't reach these brakes here. They're too far away. If that's the case, if you look inside here, up inside here, I'm not going to do it on this, but if you look up inside here, there's a little screw which you can adjust, and it will pull these brakes in, it will pull the levers in. Now, if you don't know how to do that, if you go into your local bike shop and ask them nicely, smile at them, and they'll probably do it for free. Yeah. So you can bring them in, and everybody should be able to control their brakes from here. If you can't, you need to bring the lever in. Okay. You'd have to have unbelievably short fingers to not be able to do that. The other reason for being on the drops is your center of gravity is lower. What that means is the higher your center of gravity, the more unstable you are in the corners. So the lower you are, the more stable you are. So it's safer. So it's safer because you're not going to fall off the handlebars. It's safer because you're lower, and it's safer because you've got better control of your brakes. But I understand the fear. I understand why people feel that they're going to go over the top, yeah, or that they don't feel secure. I get it, but you have to trust me that you are. A way of teaching yourself that fear or overcoming that fear is to start off, and when you're on a piece of flat ground, or maybe just gently going down, maybe 1 or 2%, just to practice putting one hand down, and then one hand down, and then two hands down, and then back and back. And once you get used to being here and feeling, and maybe doing a little bit of braking, you will understand what I'm saying. I can never force anyone to do anything. I can only advise, and trust me, it's much, much safer. So that's the braking, adjusting the brakes if you can't get to them, being on the drops ideally, if you possibly can, for the reasons that I've stated. Whilst we're on braking, there's one other thing. It's a common misconception that if you pull the front brake, you're going to go like this. And it is a misconception. When you're descending, you should always be braking about 60% on the front brake and 40% on the back brake. As I say, a lot of people think, oh, if I use too much front brake, I'll go like this. It's the opposite. If you pull the back brake too hard, the bike will do this. So you'll skid. And then depending on your bike handling abilities, you'll fall over or you'll correct it. So again, front brake 60, 40, 60, 40. And as I say, if you've got disc brakes, you really only need to just brake with one finger. You mustn't pull the brakes on too hard, because that will lock the wheels out. If the wheels lock up, you've got no control. You're not braking anymore, you're sliding. okay, even if you're sliding in a forward direction. Okay, so that's where you should be. The other thing, talking about where you should be on the bike, is when you're actually descending, ideally you should have your weight over the back of the saddle. This puts the weight over the rear wheel, which means it's got more traction. So it's less likely to do that slip sliding that I've said. So that's just a little tip there. Now, the other thing in terms of where your weight and your body should be when you're descending is in cornering. So if I'm going to corner to the left here, right, for a start the bike is going to be leaning. I'll talk about leaning the bike and steering the bike in a minute, but the bike will be leaning, or should be leaning. If it's not, that's a problem in itself. So you're leaning the bike and this outside leg is straight and down. So the pedal is down. This pedal is up. There's two reasons for that. One, this pedal being up means it's not going to get caught as the bike leans on the floor. Obviously, if it was down, it might, as you can see there. And the other reason is that the fact that I've got my leg pushed here, pushes the bike into the ground, gives it more traction. If you want to get super technical and you're on the drops, as I've advised, then you would push on the opposite. So if I'm going left, I push on the left drop and have my right leg down, and vice versa if I'm going the other way. So that's pretty much covered everything about the basic techniques for bike handling when descending. Now, I'll just talk very briefly about steering, and we'll do more of this next week when I do the video on cornering and stuff. What a lot of people do when they're riding a bike, because let me see if I can show you this. It's probably easier this way. Because the steerer tube steers, you turn it. Yeah, they think that's what they've got to do when they go around a corner. So I'm going left, so I'm going to turn it like this. Not a car. A car, you turn the steering wheel and that turns the wheels. All you really have to do when you're cornering is, if I want to turn left, I lean the bike to the left. The bike will go there. Yeah, and vice versa, obviously, if I want to go to the right. Now, I don't know why I'm leaning to the left, but nothing to do with my politics necessarily. Anyway, so you lean the bike, you don't steer the bike, okay? So that's that. The other thing is also, and I will touch on this again next week, but is once you stop leaning the bike, i.e. when you straighten the bike up, the bike will go straight. So I'm going there and I want to go there. I don't have to steer it that way. I just put the bike up like that. Okay, it's another reason for having that leg down, yeah, because that's going to help you to right the bike. Yeah, so I'm steering here, and then I want to straighten up. I just stand the bike up, what we call stand the bike up. And I'll talk about that next week in terms of where you are on the road and how that can help you avoid cars, etc., where the maximum risk is and how you can minimize that risk depending on whether you're turning right or left. But for the moment, I don't want to overload you too much. That's the basic bike handling techniques. As I say, next month I will do a whole lot more detail on how you approach different corners, what lines you take and why you take them, and hopefully you'll all turn into demon descenders. See you later.